At Slice Engineering, our mission has always been about innovation, empowering creators and makers to push boundaries with 3D printing. As we look forward in 2025, we're focusing on something even bigger, directly impacting lives. It's about helping you print your dreams and making them a reality. 3D printing has the power to do so much more than create prototypes and parts and tchotchkes that we put on our shelves. It can truly transform lives in ways we couldn't have imagined a few decades ago. That's why we're partnering with incredible partners like Hand, who are using this technology to bring hope and opportunity to people in need. Hand was founded by Mohamed Hatab in Egypt, and they're changing lives through 3D printed prosthetics. Their mission is deeply personal. It's inspired by Mohamed's own journey, and we're honored to support their work by providing the tools and technology they need to succeed. Today, we're excited to share Mohamed's story with you. In this interview, you'll hear firsthand how Hand is leveraging 3D printing to provide prosthetics to children and other folks in underserved communities. This is just one example of how 3D printing can create real, meaningful change. And as we move forward, Slice Engineering is committed to scaling these efforts, partnering with organizations like Hand to make a tangible difference in the world. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Now let's hear more from Mohamed directly and learn about the incredible impact that his NGO, Hand is having in Egypt.
And so we are live. So first thing I'll say is just, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself, then we can talk a little bit about your story.
Yeah, so my name is Mohamed Hatab, and I'm from Egypt. I've lived here my whole life. And then I moved to the UK for university. I lived there for a few years, and then came back here and started Hand, which you guys know a lot about, I assume. I work with prosthetics. So my story starts way back, actually, when I was way younger, and I was diagnosed with leukemia, blood cancer. I was very lucky to have had a very pleasant experience, even though cancer is usually very difficult, and it was difficult. Right. Very fortunate to have people to support me. I traveled to France, and at that point, France were one of the best countries for treating leukemia. So I was very privileged, and that's actually one of the things that sparked something inside of me that I potentially want to give back one day. As I was helped as a child, I want to help others if opportunity arises. But then that experience was when I was 9. So you can only imagine that was just a thought at that point. There was really nothing I could do at that age.
Yeah.
Once you get back to normal life, you tend to forget everything, and you just, life takes you in its ups and downs.
Right.
That actually happened. But again, that seed was planted at some point. So after I traveled, I traveled to the UK and I studied engineering, and in specific, I studied aeronautical engineering, which has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing now. I work in the biomedical space, but it did teach me a few things, and I'll touch on that later on. But it was a passion I had, and I really wanted to study aeronautical engineering. And luckily, I was accepted at a very good university in Scotland, and I finished my undergrad. I did the master's in aeronautical engineering and so on. And then came the time, usually when you graduate, there's like that question we all ask ourselves: what now?
Right. Yeah. Where do I get a job? Yeah.
You spend your whole life doing the exact same thing.
Right.
To reach that point where you reach a point where you don't know what to do whatsoever.
Yeah.
So that was basically the question I was asking. But I always wanted to come back to Egypt. I'm very connected with my family, with my friends, and with the country as a whole. So I wanted to come back. But at that point, aerospace engineering isn't that big here as it is in Europe or in the US.
Sure.
So then I started considering other options, not just like how can I utilize my education in aeronautical engineering or aerospace and apply that to other sorts of engineering. And at that point, I had a lot of free time, and I'm not really the type of person who would just sit around and wait for something to happen.
Right.
I started searching a little bit more about how can I help. So at that point came back to me the thought of, okay, now I have some time. I have some knowledge in engineering, so maybe I can apply that to help people. And at that point, it came to me, I had some friends in university who were studying biomedical engineering, and they were working with prosthetics.
Back in Scotland?
Exactly.
Okay.
And I thought to myself, if there's a need for prosthetics in Scotland, there's 100% a need here in Egypt.
Sure.
And I was right, but I didn't know that much about prosthetics, but I did know about 3D printing. Because I learned a lot about 3D printing during university years, but in a totally different application.
Sure.
So at that point, I started reaching out to my friends and gathering more information online, and from whatever space I can find information, I would straight away contact people in that area. until I got my first 3D printer. It is as simple as that. I literally ordered a 3D printer online and I started manufacturing prototypes.
Mm.
I was basically playing around. So
Right.
I thought,
You were
okay,
researching, exploring. Yeah.
exactly. And it was not intended to be like an entity or an organization. It was basically just a hobby on the side. I have my full-time job and I'd just be doing this on the side. If I happen to find someone who might need help, then okay, I will help. And,
Right.
and it's up from there. And I remember the dates specifically. That was in August of 2019, basically, where I was trying everything out. And then by pure coincidence, I was speaking to my father about this. He said, okay, I might know someone who might actually have a case that might need a prosthetic.
Mm.
So he connected me with a friend of his, and that guy actually did have a 5-year-old girl. He knew of a 5-year-old girl who was born missing a part of her arm. So I offered, okay, I read a little bit and I think I know enough about making a simple prosthetic.
Right.
And that's exactly what I did. Like, I got measurements. They sent me her measurements, asked for things, and then I designed like a very basic prosthetic that was actuated by the elbow. So by bending the elbow, you basically
Contract the hand. Yeah.
Exactly. It took me maybe 2 weeks to print it and assemble it and so on. And then I met a little girl, and at that point, it's like everything that happened to me in my life just flashed at that point, because I thought to myself, I got sick as a kid. I got past that. I studied engineering. I went to the UK. I came back. By mere coincidence, I got interested in prosthetic. All that just to help that little girl who wasn't even born when I joined university.
Right.
So everything made sense. And at the end of the day, I think everyone would agree that finding purpose is what matters the most in life, regardless of what you're after. You will reach a point in life where you will 100% start thinking about, why am I here? What am I doing? Is it what I want? So I always say that I was very, very lucky to have that feeling and to feel that I have purpose at that point. And then the fitting went very well. The little girl was very happy. Her parents were very happy. So it made me extremely happy. I can't even put that into words.
Yeah.
And at that point, I knew I wanted to continue doing that, but still, it was still a side thing. It was still a thing. We might find one case here, one case there. We'd design, manufacture. And at that point, I was working out of my room. It was literally like a garage sort of story.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not trying to make it sound fancy, but this is actually how it was. And then approaching the end of the year, there was a very big forum that's organized in Egypt every year, I think now. It's called the World Youth Forum, where youth from all around the world, they come to a city in Egypt and they present like any sort of ideas, startups and so on. And I was
Cairo, is that where it is?
It's in Sharm el-Sheikh. It's a very big city in Egypt.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I think they've done it maybe 5-6 times now. And it's mainly for startups and youth, and it covers everything. And I was invited to go showcase what I've been doing over there. I have no idea how they found out about anything I was doing, and I had never spoken about my story. So there is a reason behind that. I'm very open, and I speak openly about being a cancer survivor. I didn't like when I feel like others feel sorry for me. You know?
Right. You didn't want the pity.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's why I never used to talk about it. But then at that point, I thought, okay, there's a bigger picture here. So if I actually do speak about what I've been through, it might spark more help or might help me reach more people. And that's what I did. So I spoke about my story. Everything I'm telling you now, I spoke about details of it. And that's probably the speech you've seen. Maybe.
Right.
That was the first time I ever spoke about anything.
Oh.
And at that point, it got crazy exposure, and a lot of people came up to me and spoke to me. So it grew way more than I expected.
Yeah, it was a source of inspiration.
It seems to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then after that, like beginning of 2020, I was approached by 2 businessmen who were very interested in funding and helping more people. So at that point, the idea went from a small hobby I was doing on the side to let's build an entire organization that can actually help people in that cause. And at that point, I had just started the job.
Oh, wow. So now you got a decision in front of you, job or your
the job. I had to choose I am going to do that anyway, but is it going to be on a small scale alongside that job, or is it going to be like full scale doing that the whole like full time? And then I took a decision. It was an easy decision, to be honest,
Yeah.
because I knew that was my calling.
Right.
I went straight away and I started like doing this full time, building a team, because at that point it was me and maybe one other guy who used to help me a little bit with assembly. So at that point I started building a team, and then COVID hit, so it slowed us a little bit, but it wasn't major because we were still very young at that point.
And you're all online, I imagine, right? Everything's digital. Self-ordering Hoed. Yeah.
Yeah, we were only just meeting the patients to get measurements and potentially for fittings, but that was about it. And then we were officially established in September of 2020. So we were an official foundation under the Ministry of Social Solidarity. So we're officially registered as a charity that is typically working with prosthetics. And then from there we started building a team. We were 5 people at that point. And then things grew exponentially from there. Our first year was officially 2021, basically, because we're just setting things up in late 2020.
Sure.
And we managed to fit around 700 prosthetics in our first year.
700 in the first year.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
which was great.
Yeah.
Because you really have no idea how much work goes into just making one prosthetic. So 700 to us was a huge number.
It is a
And
huge number.
It was only upper limbs. And then at that point, we also realized the need for lower limbs was even bigger, because Egypt is one of the highest countries with diabetic patients, and diabetes is one of the highest causes of amputation. So hence, we have a very, very high number of lower limb amputees. And not just that, Egypt is a hub for a lot of refugees. So we have refugees from Palestine, from Syria, from Eritrea, from Ethiopia, from Sudan, from everywhere. And
yeah.
a lot of those people are war-torn. Hence, a lot of them have amputations.
Yeah.
So the need turned out to be way, way bigger than I ever imagined. There's an estimate that there are around 1 million amputees in Egypt, and around 200,000 new ones every year.
200,000 new ones per year. Just in Egypt.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, Egypt has a better or more established, stable medical system than a lot of the countries you just mentioned, of course. And yeah, so it makes sense for everybody to come there to escape and find stability.
We have our challenges because we have a very big population.
Of course.
And it's growing massively. We're around 120 million only Egyptians. And you can only imagine how many refugees are coming in every year, especially with what's going on around the world at this point.
Right.
So every year there's a bigger disaster than the year before. More refugees are coming in. So we're trying our best. And
right.
Back to 2021, at that point, we realized the need to start producing lower limbs. It was totally different because it's load bearing, it's more complex, the risk is higher. So we spent an entire year just researching the type of material and whether that's going to work or not. And then we ended up creating our first prototype, sending that over to a lab in Europe, in which like a robotic leg puts on the prosthetic and it mimics the motion of a human being.
Walking, yeah.
Exactly. So we can get a proper feedback as to whether this is going to work or not. Luckily, the test went very well and we were able to start production. And then in 2022, we rolled out, obviously in phases, but we rolled out lower limbs below the knee. The knee is a totally different story again.
The knee is a very complex joint.
Exactly. So then we start focusing on lower limbs, and we managed to fit in that year around 1,000 prosthetics.
Wow.
So again, that was very, very good. This 2022. Mm-hmm. And then 2023, we started growing even more. And at that point, now we're around 50 people working.
50 people. Wow.
5 to 50 in 4 years is a lot of people. And we don't just produce a prosthetic. So we offer a full service. We have researchers who make sure that the people we work with are actually in need of a prosthetic and deserving of getting one free of charge, because we give these prosthetics for free.
Give them away, yeah.
Exactly. And we have the psychology team, we have psychiatrists, we have engineers, we have technicians, we have we have an entire organization, and not just the production side, like not just the engineering side of things, which you guys came into, but the entire organization around everything to be able to offer that full service.
Right. Yeah. Because it's not just about the physical need, right? There's an emotional, you could even say a spiritual need for somebody to feel whole and be able to function normally as part of society again.
And there are so many supporting functions that need to come with that. So, for example, we have a fundraising team that works with corporates and with banks and with individuals to be able to raise funds so we can have a sustainable model that can always help people on and on. So it's very, very big organization with a lot of arms.
Yeah.
It's working very well so far. And we even grew further year after. We introduced above the knee, because we found out the need for above knee was also very high. We started knee joints, and so on. So it's been growing ever since, and thankfully now I can say we fit around close to 5,000 prosthetics in 4 years.
5,000 in 4 years. That's incredible. What a number.
We have a huge waiting list. We have a waiting list of around 1,000 only above knee amputees. So the demand is huge, and the job is getting harder because also economically, like, the situation here is not very good. So importing is not very strong, and that's actually one of the reasons why we approached you guys a year ago. So I don't know if you know anything about that, but when I was first introduced to Slice, the main reason was because production used to take too long. So we do not have like the fanciest of 3D printers, because we honestly believe that it's a 3D printer. It's more of who's operating than what type of printer you have. That's what we believe. And then it's a small pieces of technology that can make a big difference.
Yeah, it's a lever, right? You can apply leverage to change the game on your production capacity.
Exactly. So before we use your product, it used to take us around maybe up to 24 hours to sometimes 36 hours to produce a socket, which is the part that is integrated between the residual limb and the actual prosthetic. And now it takes us up to 10 to 12 hours.
Wow, that's incredible. So 24 to 36 hours down to 10 to 12 hours time difference. That's massive.
It's a huge difference. And we can still keep our own printers. So that's what I was telling you. Usually people think, okay, I'm going big scale industrial, let's go with an industrial 3D printer. We don't believe in that 100%. So we started modifying the printers to fit what we need. So we change nozzles, we change hot ends, we change extruders, we change the motors, the frame even. We started creating our own printers that would be very suitable to our need. And that's where you guys came in, and we're continuously working with you guys. I don't know if you know or not, but every other 3-4 months we start upgrading a few things, changing the gears, changing this, changing that. And also Bondtech, you guys have a partnership with Bondtech.
Right.
We also work with them.
Yeah, it's very exciting just to see. Obviously, we produce technology for a wide variety of applications, right? People are using them for all sorts of things. But in the prosthetic space, there's a real tangible way that you're taking, 36 hours down to 10 to be able to produce something for somebody who is they don't care what the component was, obviously, that doesn't matter. But what does matter is that they can get a life-changing prosthetic faster than they would be able to before. And you guys are a scrappy team. I mean, you're a nonprofit, you're fundraising constantly to try and meet this incredible need that is mind-blowingly larger than your organization is. And so, yeah, to be able to have a little contribution to helping you guys function more efficiently it's an honor. We're honored. The team and I are honored to be able to help.
You guys have been very supportive, and whenever we need anything, we just reach out and you guys help us straight away. So couldn't be more thankful for everything you guys are offering at this point.
Thank you, Mohamed. We're super excited about it. And as we talked as a team, at our 2024 sort of recap and strategic planning for 2025, we realized, the thing that we get most excited about is end-use applications where people's lives are being changed. And we've decided to just adopt prosthetics as like the the cause that we want to support and champion.
Everything I've told you does not compare whatsoever with you actually seeing someone walk again, for example. Like, it's a feeling I cannot even explain. Seeing someone going in on a wheelchair or with crutches and so on, and then going out walking again is something else. And it's
true.
The strength or like the power of whatever you guys are doing. Because I'm pretty sure whoever is designing or producing a nozzle that goes onto a 3D printer would never imagine that small nozzle would potentially contribute to someone walking again.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible. I'm a little bit at loss for words, just excited that we get to be a small part of this.
Same here.
What are the biggest challenges that Hand NGO faces right now to helping more patients?
We actually have two main challenges at this point. One is due to local restrictions that have to do with imports. So importing is a bit of a challenge at this point. That is mainly due to the economic situation not being very good because of devaluation of the currency and so on. So there are a lot of restrictions that have to do with import. And also the other issue, which stems from the same area, is fundraising. So the need is huge. So regardless of how much funds we can raise, we always need more because there are always more people we can help.
Right.
So that's why at this point we're trying to diversify as much as we can our sources of fundraising. And we've also started working with people abroad so that we get our message out there. So potentially we can help more people, because at this point our problem is not just local. It's not just Egyptians. It's actually people from all over the world. And given again the conflicts that are going on around us, like, we need all the help we can get from anyone who can potentially help in any way possible, whether that's helping through raising funds or potentially connecting us to people who can help with any sort of resource. It doesn't have to be purely funds, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm. Are you drawing on other nonprofits for, engineering resources or printer donations, or what other ways can people help that are maybe non-financial if they're not able to help financially? Like
some people we already work with, they offer products or materials, for example. So we use a lot of materials in producing using 3D printers. Some people can offer those. Others offer products. Others offer connections or maybe ways in which we can collaborate with. So we collaborate with a lot of other nonprofits in efforts to find more people in need. Because obviously there are so many people in need, but then you need to start categorizing who is in need more.
Right.
I wouldn't class it in that way, but obviously children, for example, people who breadwinners for their families and so on. So It doesn't have to be with funds. It could be with funds. It can be with connections. It could be with products. It could be with materials. Whatever way you can help is always we always want that with open arms.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome. What materials are you guys using to print upper and lower limb prosthetics?
So we use three main types of materials. We use PLA, but it's not our main. For upper limbs, we use TPU. Two types of TPU. I'll tell you more about those. And our main material is PP.
Okay, polypropylene.
But we use a very specific type of polypropylene from a company out of the Netherlands, because it has very specific qualities in terms of stiffness, flexibility, fatigue resistance, and so on. And that's the material we tested to be able to get an approval, knowing that it would work for lower limbs.
Okay.
For TPU, we have TPU 65, which works in upper limbs as joints, so it gives you the
flexibility.
Exactly. And we also use TPU 95 for liners that we pad our sockets with.
Wow, so you're printing the liner as well.
Yeah, worked on that.
Wow, that's wild. The PLA, are you using PLA in the structural capacity? Because obviously the PLA is known to be
we use
brittle.
the basic format, like the PLA plus, just so it's not too brittle.
Yeah.
Nothing. We don't need anything too advanced in terms of PLA.
Mm-hmm. What do you see as the long-term? Where do you see Hand NGO in the next 5 to 10 years? What's the vision?
That's always an easy question to ask, but a difficult question to answer.
Yeah.
So honestly, 5 years ago, if you had asked me that question, whatever answer I would have given you would not be where we are today.
Right.
And I believe 100% that I don't know where this organization is going to go, and I cannot answer that question. All I can say is we're going to try our best to help as many people as we can. Our goal was always to expand regionally, and because there are a lot of countries around us that need such help. But given what's going on, I don't think in 3-4 years we're going to be covering half of what we need to be doing here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the world is coming to you.
So I think in the next 5 to 10 years, our main goal is going to be to potentially help as many people as we can here, and to expand our range of products. So at this point, we offer below the elbow, below the wrist, above the knee, and below the knee. We also want to expand potentially in other things that have to do with mobility, not just prosthetics, so maybe orthotics, and maybe chairs. So anything that has to do with that. And also there's another industry we've been considering expanding to, but it's a bit different and challenging, that has to do with hearing aids. I don't know if you know or not, but hearing aids are very, very big in 3D printing as well these days.
Yeah, it's one of the main applications of mass-produced 3D printing, actually, is for dental and for hearing aids.
Exactly. And we know for a fact there's a very big need for it here, because a lot of entities consider hearing aids prosthetics as well.
Interesting.
So to an extent, we do see that need, and we also know how much how life-changing it can be.
Mm-hmm.
Short answer to your question, I have no idea where we're going to be in 5 but we hope to help as many people as we can. So at least to double the number of people we've helped. Right. And as I always say, it's not just a matter of numbers. It's not just about helping 1,000 or 2,000 or 10,000. It's actually about what sort of impact you create on these people's lives. Mm-hmm. That's why we're working so hard these days to create an impact measure that can actually show how much fitting 1% can change someone's life. We're usually very impressed with numbers. Oh, I fit 5,000, I fit 10,000. Honestly, if you fit just 2 or 3 people, you've changed their lives and changing their lives, changing other people's lives. Yeah. So
there's a network effect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's why we're not just going, like, for example, our plan for 2025 is basically, it's the year of quality. So our main focus for 2025 is to improve the quality of our products and not increase the number. So we want to be more qualitative than quantitative.
Right.
That's basically because when the numbers start growing massively, it tends to compromise quality.
Yeah. Right.
So that's why we believe at some point we need to stop, forget about numbers, focus about quality, bring quality back to the highest of standards, and then let's look again at numbers.
Yeah. The impact and sort of the network effect. I mean, when you fitted that first little 5-year-old girl with an arm, that has a massive impact on her parents, her playmates, her siblings. I mean, it's, yes, changing that one little girl's life, but everybody around her as well. And making sure that prosthetic lasts for years to come and is a quality product. And or she's going to grow out of it, so you need to get her another one soon. That is, that's the key, really, to longevity for the organization. Last 2 questions I have for you. First one is, what if there's somebody out there that's watching this video and they could learn something from your journey for whatever, finding their purpose, whatever their purpose is, what would you tell them?
I've been asked this question a few times, but I think I never give the same answer every time. But there's one thing in common in all my answers, is that, as cliche as it might sound, but always follow what you think is the right thing, because I personally, that's something I didn't say. I had a very, very detailed plan of what I want to do with my life. I knew what I wanted to study, where I wanted to work, where I wanted to live, everything. Every single detail I knew. But then none of it happened.
And you're much happier for it, seems.
Way happier. Usually when you overplan, you tend to start stressing, and then you think that's what you get. If you don't get that, you start thinking, okay, I've lost it all. Mm-hmm. Like, what I would say is, have a plan, but also be very flexible when it doesn't happen.
Hold it loosely with open hands. Yeah.
Exactly. Because you'd be surprised where you think or what you think is the best probably is not. And that's exactly what happened to me, because I had the plan and I thought that plan is 100% the best thing that can ever happen to me. And where I am now is 100 times better than where I thought I would want to be. So I'm not saying don't have a plan, because I still do plan everything.
Right.
But have a plan and be accepting of change.
Right.
Because that change might end up being like the best thing that ever happened to you.
Absolutely. There's this great quote that I love from General Eisenhower, who's also president of the United States. And he said, he was very much a planner, but he said, plans are worthless, but planning is everything. And I love that quote. And it's something I try to apply to my life. Hold the plans loosely. Last thing I've got for you, where can people find out more about Hand in Hand? And if they want to support or contribute to your work in any way, how can they do that?
You can find our website, which is handinhand-ngo.com. You find everything there, all the details, donation. And also you can follow us on our social media platforms, whether on Facebook or on Instagram. And there, especially on Instagram, you'll find all the donation methods, all the links are there. So everything you need to know about Hand in Hand is going to be either on social media or on our website.
That's awesome. I imagine if people get on Instagram, they can see sort of firsthand the work that you guys are doing with patients, right?
Yes, 100%. You'll see even testimonials from the patients themselves, talking about the service, talking about how their lives have changed. They'll be able to see everything from kids to elderly, to working individuals, to women. We have a diverse range of people, and you can actually see that and not just hear me talk about it.
Right. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Mohamed, for your time. This has been just an honor to talk to you and to see.
Thank you very much. I really enjoy, when you dig deep into work, you tend to forget sometimes you tend to forget why you're doing things. And then when you have these conversations, it just reminds you of why we're doing it all.
Yeah. I would say the same this way, because again, like you mentioned, when we're making a nozzle, we don't necessarily know where that nozzle is going to go or what application is going to be used for. But when we know that at least some of them are going to change people's lives in a radical way, that gets us excited all over again to go back and make better nozzles. So, yeah, we will. Awesome. Thank you, Mohamed. Have a blessed day.